Statistics show that at some stage in our lives, 70% of us, 70%, have had to deal with imposter syndrome. In today's episode, we're going to explore what is imposter syndrome and how do we combat it. Imposter syndrome is this intense feeling that the successes in our lives are undeserved, that in some way we are a fraud, that we're just lucky. Today, we're going to explore how do we manage these feelings and what are some things we can use to combat our imposter syndrome. Stay tuned because at the end, I want to notify you about a new course which will explore in much further depth imposter syndrome and how to make sure that we can be free of it. Today, we're going to explore 6 practical tools that we can use which can help us really confront our imposter syndrome and make sure that we're managing it rather than it managing us. First tool is break the silence. You know, so much of imposter syndrome is an internal language. These are sayings that we say to ourselves. I feel like a fraud. I'm just lucky. And of course, what we've got to do is to break the silence. And part of that is finding someone trusted and really confiding in them, telling them at this moment in my life, this is how I feel. And let that person with rationality respond back to us and say, you know what, this just might be your imposter syndrome. Recently, I published a book and I had a real dose of imposter syndrome a few days before it was published. And one of the things that I've learned to do when I have these feelings is to call a dear trusted friend, Laura, in the UK. And I said, you know what? This is how I'm feeling. And she was able to say to me, you know, I've read the book. The book is really superb. I really think people are going to be blessed by its content and people are going to enjoy it. And that was enough for me to realize, this is my imposter syndrome acting up again. And I just need to relax and let things play out and to trust that my work will be received well. So there's the first tool, break the silence. The second tool is seek evidence. You know, with this, I imagine it's like a court of law. So here you are saying all these things to yourself. Here you have all these feelings that you're an imposter, that you don't deserve what you've got, that people are going to think that you're foolish. Well, what I like to say is, what evidence do you have of this? If this was a court of law and you were being convicted, would there be any evidence whatsoever to convict you? And whenever we turn on our rationality, whenever we begin to think about things, we begin to see the true light of what's happening. That really what's happening is this internal discussion within ourselves, and it's our imposter syndrome. And really there is no evidence whatsoever to validate some of those things that we're saying to ourselves. Number 3 is recognize moments in your life where some of those feelings are actually valid. You know, sometimes we have experience where we are the new kid on the block. We're starting a job, or perhaps we're in unfamiliar territory. Perhaps we're with people that we don't know. Perhaps we are trying something for the first time. And so therefore, it is normal and acceptable to have some feelings of trepidation, to have some feelings of anxiety, and really to accept that things might not work out the best the first time around, but that we are going to learn from any mistakes that might happen. Sometimes we just got to accept that we are in a situation where some of these feelings are entirely normal. The fourth tool is to visualize success. You know, elite athletes have been using the power of visualization to help them in their success for many years. You'll notice it at the beginning of a race. If you can remember some of the great Olympic athletic events, you'll almost see them previewing the race in their mind, and they're going through how they're going to show up. I recently found out that surgeons also do this before a very complicated and difficult surgery. They imagine the surgery from point A to point Z. They also even imagine if something goes wrong that they're able to correct that and to have a successful outcome. So in the same way as well, if we're nervous or uptight, if we can feel our imposter syndrome attacking us, then begin to visualize not what can go wrong, but begin to visualize everything going right. Begin to visualize us in a situation where everything has turned out right and people have not only accepted what we've said, but have congratulated us for our wisdom or for something that we've added to the world of work or at home. If you're enjoying the content today, I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Every week I come out with a new video on an area of emotional intelligence, and I promise you it will be practical and will help you expand your emotional intelligence both at work and at home. So subscribe below, press the bell, and you'll be notified when the next video is released. Tool number 4 is to create a folder of accomplishments. You know, at times in our lives when we are full of self-doubt, at times in our lives when really we are wondering, are we just a fraud? Have we really done anything? It's great to pull out a folder which can have anything which indicates past success. Perhaps it's an email that you've printed out from a client who's congratulating you on work that was tremendously done. Perhaps it is an evaluation that you had from a boss who is congratulating you on work that is well done. Whatever it is, that folder can really help you put things in context, and that folder which lists your past achievements can really set you on a more even foot and rebalance some of those feelings that imposter syndrome gives us. And the final tool I would suggest is stop comparing. You know, we live in a world of comparison, and especially for people with imposter syndrome, the more we compare ourselves, the more we can find faults in ourselves, and the more we can think that other people are better than us. Be careful of our social media feed. Just at times when we find ourselves comparing ourselves to others, just shut it down, go for a walk, and think about all the things that are unique about you. All the things that you add that no one else can. What are the stories that add depth to your life? What are the ways that you approach things that are unique? So instead of comparing, what we really want to focus on is our uniqueness. In today's video, we've explored 6 practical ways that we can take control of our imposter syndrome. Which one is most important? Well, they're all equally important. What's important is that you choose one and try to experiment with it. Now, if you've really enjoyed the content today, I also want to let you know that myself and my friend Laura in the UK, both of us have had to deal with imposter syndrome throughout our lives. We've put together a course on imposter syndrome. The course looks at what exactly it is, how does it show up in our lives, and then how can we get a grip of it, and how can we implement tools that help us put imposter syndrome in its place. If you would like to sign up for the course, I invite you to explore the link below, and there's also a special discount code for anyone that's watched this video, which will reduce the price of that course. And if you've enjoyed the content today, I invite you to watch the next video, which looks at the different signs that you may have imposter syndrome.